Hey, it's Ben Greenfield. I am in Carmel, California, attending a private masterminding event down here, but I had a great workout. I'll tell you what it was. This is one of my go-to workouts. I ran to the gym here, and if the audio sounds funny, by the way, I'm in my big cavernous, echoey hotel room rather than my slick little home studio. Ran to the gym, and I did a weight training complex. I have this habit now of when I'm at a conference or an event like this and I know time is tight, I use barbell complexes or dumbbell complexes or kettlebell complexes, whatever happens to be available. And one of my favorite complexes is the following. I load up a barbell with a lot of weight and I pick up the weight like a deadlift and then do a Romanian deadlift and then do a bench row, a front clean to just a clean to a front squat, to an overhead press, to a back squat, to an overhead press. And I do all that without setting the bar down. And then I just do as many repetitions as I possibly can. I recover with mobility work for about a minute or two, right? Like walking or crawl position type of mobility moves like bird dogs or fire hydrant exercises. Google those if you don't know what they are. And then I go back to the barbell and I do another complex. Again, as many as I can do until I put the bar down. Usually if I've got 135 pounds on the bar, for example, I'll be able to do 5 or 6 reps. And I'll just do that 3 times. Boom, done. That's it. Lift heavy stuff. If you have no option, either lift heavy stuff or find whatever cardio machine you can that moves as many body parts as possible, like the rowing machine or the elliptical thing with the arms on it, and just go to town with very short explosive intervals on that. Either barbell complexes or intervals are going to give you the most bang for your buck, especially when you're on the road like I am a lot right now. Speaking of which, that's why you're not getting a lot of listener Q&A on the podcast these days, but fear not. We are returning to listener Q&As with some cool little twists and surprises that I think you're going to be quite pleased with thrown in beginning next month in June, if you're listening to this podcast at the time that it is released. After Carmel, I'm going to be flying over to Bulgaria to speak at a little conference in Sofia, Bulgaria, and then I'll be flying back right here to Monterey, actually, to race the Spartan race in Monterey. So you can follow all of my travels and my adventures and meet up with me, even in Sofia, Bulgaria, yes, if you go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/calendar. One other thing, be sure to leave this show a review in iTunes. Reviews really help to spread the love. Go leave a 5-star review. Say something nice. And in many cases, I will choose just a few select reviews and send goodie packages out to reviewees. But I think I get in trouble if iTunes knows that I'm bribing you to leave reviews. So just leave it out of the goodness of your heart and act really surprised if a gift winds up at your front doorstep or someone contacts you out of the blue like a creepy stalker to ask for your address so I can send you stuff. iTunes. Do a search for the Ben Greenfield Fitness Show. Leave a review. Easy as that. This podcast is brought to you by this really interesting blend of nutrients. One is for brain and one is for sleep. So there's this company called Reach Higher Nutrition. ReachHigherNutrition.com is where you go to check them out. I'll give you a discount code here in a second for 20% off. But here's what this stuff does. Basically, it's just amino acids and no other crazy things thrown in, but they've got a brain blend that's basically a blend of things like tryptophan. Yeah, same stuff you get from warm milk and turkey, except now you can get it from a pill. It's like turkey in a pill. That's what they should have called it, turkey in a pill. Tyrosine, taurine, diphenylalanine, and then their sleep blend is taurine and glycine and L-tryptophan. And while it may seem weird to put the same ingredients that are in Red Bull into a sleep blend, this stuff actually works. So you can try out either their mind blend, which is state of mind, or their sleep blend, which is state of sleep. If you just go to reachhighernutrition.com and you want to use code BEN20, that'll get you 20% off over at reachhighernutrition.com. This podcast is also brought to you, speaking of reaching higher, by this company called Gainswave. So what is Gainswave? Well, what they do is they use these painless, yes, painless, trust me, it is painless, as long as you use the numbing cream that they give you when you go there. You get numbing cream, you put it on your nether regions, guys or girls, and then they basically blast you, guys, with high-frequency acoustic sound waves that open up old blood vessels in your nether regions, aka your crotch, and stimulates the formation of new blood vessels. And I've done this. Yes, I've done it. And I was a little bit apprehensive about it at first. I thought maybe like that South Park commercial, earmuffs kids, my dick was going to fall off and fly around the room. Watch the South Park gluten episode if you don't know what I'm talking about. But that didn't happen. I actually was pleasantly surprised with the results. And women can do it too. Again, earmuffs kids, the way they do it with women is they actually put like a little like sleeve over the wand and they go in there and they put it up inside you and blast you that way. I know it sounds weird, but anyways, it works. People are using this now instead of Viagra or Cialis, to fix erectile dysfunction, or like women with poor blood flow or women who can't have orgasms, things like that, like all sorts of ways it can be used. But check this place out. You go to gainswave.com. That's gainswave.com and click find a doctor. That'll let you find a doctor near you. And if you want to save $150, you can text the word Greenfield to 313131, and they'll get you a $150 voucher towards any GainsWave treatment at any of their 60 participating clinics nationwide. So have fun with that one. And also have fun smearing your face with avocados and papayas, because that's what today's show is about. It's with my friend Trevor Cates. I actually got to hang out with her in Phoenix a few weeks ago. She's super nice. I hadn't met her before recording this podcast, but I can attest to the fact that her skin actually is quite beautiful. She practices what she preaches. She smears things you could eat onto your skin, and she really knows what she's doing. I was able to pick her brain, and she actually is super duper smart. So have fun smearing food on your face and enjoy today's show. In this episode of the Ben Greenfield Fitness Show,
we're exposed to toxins in a number of different ways in our air, water, food, as well as our personal care products. We don't have control over this total load of toxins we're exposed to, but we do have control over what we put on our body. So it's a great place to reduce your overall load of toxins.
There's this misbelief that you have to choose between natural or effective. And so I started really digging into the research on this, because it didn't make sense to me that natural couldn't be effective, because I'm a naturopathic doctor.
He's an expert in human performance and nutrition. Voted America's top personal trainer and one of the globe's most influential people in health and fitness. His show provides you with everything you need to optimize physical and mental performance. He is Ben Greenfield.
Power, speed, mobility, balance. Whatever it is for you, that's the natural movement. Get out there. When you look at all the studies done, studies that have shown the greatest efficacy.
All the information you need in one place, right here, right now, on the Ben Greenfield Fitness Podcast.
Hey, what's up, folks? It's Ben Greenfield, and I need to actually tell you one thing before we jump into today's show. If you hear the sound of what basically sounds like gases escaping and pumps operating in the background, that is not me with bloating and indigestion. It's actually the fact that I'm wearing these special decompression boots while I'm standing at my standing desk, just to see what it feels like to podcast while wearing graded compression boots that like push gases from my feet up to my hips. So, by the way, my guest today is Dr. Trevor Cates, and Trevor, I want to assure you, I'm not farting. Those are just my recovery boots that you'll hear in the background.
Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, just in case. Anyways, though, for the rest of you listening in, I have no clue who Dr. Trevor Cates is. I'm going to introduce her in just a second, because if you've ever considered like grabbing an avocado or a papaya from your kitchen and smearing it all over your face, or maybe like dabbing some pineapple or some green algae on your skin, then this is going to be an episode that's right up your alley. And if you haven't thought about doing that stuff and you're instead still smearing things like parabens and phthalates and estrogen disruptors and man boob bestowers in your hair and on your skin and your nails, then you're definitely going to want to listen in, because you shouldn't be doing that stuff, and you're going to learn about some pretty cool alternatives in today's show. Because Dr. Cates wrote this new book that it just came out. I just read it. It's called Clean Skin from Within. And she kind of talks to you about how to transform your skin from the inside out, things you can eat to help with your skin, food things that you can smear all over your body. Really interesting book, cool approach to everything from like acne and eczema to just having skin that looks like a newborn baby's butt. By the way, Dr. Cates, that's what you should have named this book, is Skin Like a Newborn Baby's Butt. Just imagine the cover would be a lot different than the chia seeds on the wooden spoon that you currently have on the cover, I would imagine. Anyways, though, so who's Dr. Cates? She's a naturopathic physician. I've had a chance to hang out with her at this yearly summit that I go to called the Consumer Health Summit. She's really cool, real person. She was actually appointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger to California's Bureau of Naturopathic Medicine. She works all over the world at all these different spas. She sees patients in her own private practice, which is in Park City, Utah, where she focuses on things like graceful aging and glowing skin. Who doesn't want that stuff, right? And she believes the key to healthy skin is inner and outer nourishment with the type of non-toxic ingredients we're going to talk about on today's show. So finally, if you want the show notes for today's show, go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/clean skin. That's bengreenfieldfitness.com/clean skin. So, Dr. Cates, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
By the way, can I call you Trevor, or do I need to call you Dr. Cates the whole time?
You can call me Trevor, of course. Okay. And since people can't see me, but they can hear me, so they're not going to be confused by the fact, hopefully, that I have a man's name. But yes.
That's right. A man's name and raging acne and eczema all over your face. No, I'm kidding. No. Although, actually, did you used to have bad skin? Are you like one of those wounded healers who had really, really poor skin at some point in your life? And the reason I ask is because my wife used to have like really horrible eczema. And that was actually how we got introduced to eating in a little bit more of like an ancestral and healthy way. Is she found this random fringe book at the library by this guy named Dr. Loren Cordain. It was called The Dietary Cure to Acne. And it turns out he's like the father of the paleo movement. And she brought this crappy little book home from the library to me, you know, the bodybuilder who was like eating tuna fish out of the can, chicken, broccoli. Like that was my kind of like my go-to. And you know, she starts to get into these things like, avoiding grains and avoiding commercial dairy and eating more paleo-esque, and her skin healed right up. So that was like one of our first experiences with nutrition and eating a more healthy diet was actually my wife trying to heal her eczema. So were you similar? Did you used to have bad skin?
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with my skin when I was a kid. I had a lot of eczema, hives, more allergic types of skin issues. I've actually really had fickle skin my entire life. And that's one of the reasons why I realized that skin is like our magic mirror that gives us great information about our overall health. And the health of our body shows up on our skin. It's our largest organ right on the surface of our body. So it does give us a lot of information. And it is one of the things that when you are on the right track with just like your wife and figured out, when you're on the right track with your eating, your lifestyle, then it'll show up on your skin. And if you're not, that's a good indication that something's out of balance, that something's not quite right. And there may be a root cause behind that. And we're so quick to, in today's world of dermatology, conventional dermatology, to just put a cream on there, a topical steroid or an antibiotic that's just going to suppress the symptom, or for women, cover it up with makeup. But if you're not paying attention to your skin, you're really missing out on an opportunity to learn more about your body and about what a healthy diet and lifestyle can do for you. And that is what I found out as a kid. I really struggled with my skin, and my parents took me to see a lot of different specialists, dermatologists, and different allergy specialists. And I just kept feeling worse and worse. And I would have allergic reactions or adverse reactions to the medications, the treatments that they gave me. And it was so difficult at that time. I remember it so well because you can't hide your skin that well, especially when it's really inflamed. And as a kid, or really anybody, walking around with skin issues is a very difficult thing. And so other people see it, they judge you for it, you feel bad about yourself. So it was really a tough time. But luckily, my parents found a holistic practitioner that they took me to. And that's the one thing that turned my health around, that made my skin improve in a more holistic, integrative approach.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to things on your skin being hard to hide. Like I remember when I was a kid, it was my nose. Like I would always get like the zits on the end of my nose. I would get so embarrassed. I even got to the point where I would actually access my mom's makeup bag and figure out a way to 14-year-old boy in his mom's makeup trying to figure out how to cover up like the giant zit on the end of my nose so that, the girls didn't look at me funny. And I remember, for me, you'll laugh at this, Dr. Cates, because you talk about stuff like this in your book, and I've certainly talked about issues like this on my show before. I was drinking almost a full gallon of just like 2% milk from the grocery store every single day, and I'd be broken out in acne every single, and I had no clue why. I had no clue. I was shoving. Not only am I now, as I've found out, lactose intolerant, but when you're drinking homogenized pasteurized milk and getting all those undigested proteins crossing your blood-gut barrier, causing immune reactions and insulin issues and acne, it's no surprise that I had those type of issues. But yeah, you're right. You can't hide it, and it can be embarrassing. It's certainly an issue. But you said something earlier that I don't necessarily want to gloss over, and that's the fact that you can see nutritional deficiencies on your skin, which sounds great. But can you give a concrete example? Like what's an example of something that happens on the skin that shows an underlying nutritional deficiency, and not just maybe the fact that you're eating crap, but that something's missing or something needs to be added in?
Right. And partly what we're talking about with the acne is eating things that trigger a skin issue, but there are also other root causes that can trigger skin issues, and nutritional deficiencies is definitely one of them. As a naturopathic physician, it is something that I look at closely, and I've always looked at closely with people's, part of a physical exam is looking at people's skin, because I'll give a couple of examples of things that are quite common, and a lot of times people don't even realize that they're related to nutritional deficiencies. And one of them is called keratosis pilaris, and it's these little bumps on the backs of your arms. A lot of people get these. A lot of times people think that it's dry skin. These little tiny bumps, if you look closely, they look like tiny little pimples, and very common to have these. And it's oftentimes an essential fatty acid and or zinc deficiency. And so if people just get more of those nutrients in their diet, or maybe take a supplement, then that can help. And then another example that and we see pretty often is these little cracks on the corners of people's mouths. It just looks like little sores, sometimes little cracks, and they can be kind of get painful, and they kind of get worse. And people will just keep putting, petroleum-based salves on them and try and do things like that. But what it is oftentimes it's a B vitamin deficiency. And so people, again, just get more B vitamins in their diet, maybe take some supplements. Some people do best with like a B12 or a multi-B injection. But to get more of those B vitamins, then it'll clear up. And so people end up with nutritional deficiencies for various reasons. One, because maybe they're not eating very healthy. That's certainly a common, something to think of that's kind of a no-brainer. But then also sometimes our digestion and absorption is not very good. So people could have the healthiest diet. And sometimes I see these skin issues in people that have a very healthy diet. But the reason why it's a problem is because they're not actually digesting and absorbing the nutrients from their food. So then we need to work on the gut health too.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like you talk about how dandruff and chronic dry skin, which I know a ton of people get, is an omega-3 issue. And when you look at that, the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratios are, 10 to 1 or 20 to 1, and should be closer to like a 4 to 1 or less. So like your omega-6s to omega-3s. It's no surprise that so many people have skin issues that could be fixed, or dandruff issues that could be fixed by doing something as simple as maybe eating a little less peanut butter and a little bit more wild caught fish. And it's kind of interesting. You go into a lot of these little nutritional deficiencies in the book, but it is funny how your skin can be a kind of a picture of what's going on deeper down inside the body. You talk about the 5 skin types in the book. and this is kind of interesting. Can you go into, and I realize this is a huge part of the book. You don't need to detail every single skin type in extreme detail, but just go into this concept in the book that you have of these 5 different types.
Absolutely. And what I wanted to do was redefine skin types, because I don't look at my patients as a skin disease or a health issue. I look at them as people, and everybody is, there's a variety of people out there. And so what I did is I redefined skin types. Instead of calling them dry, oily, mature, sensitive, those types of skin types, I gave them all, there are 5 different skin types. I gave them all human names. So they're based upon some of my patients, and they're categorized based upon the root causes behind them. So it's not just how your skin appears, but what is really going on behind the issue so that you can address the root cause. So if you can find your skin type, whether it's amber, Olivia, sage, Emmett, or Heath, then you can help start looking at those root causes. Because when I was writing my book, in naturopathic practice, I work one-on-one with people, and I knew I couldn't do that in the book, right? It's a very different kind of approach, but I wanted to help people figure out how to individualize it and get to the root cause, because it's so important for skin issues. And so that's why I created those 5 different skin types.
Okay, gotcha. So each of these different skin types, you've got different names for them. So there's amber, there's Olivia, there is Heath, Emmett, and Sage. Beautiful names. So walk me through, are there any that would be a more common skin type that you think, more people have, or is it pretty kind of random, spread out throughout the general population?
It is interesting, because I do live events, or I'm meeting in person with people, or people are contacting me. There is a spectrum of all of them. And it's not that there's one more than other. I mean, I think that with the sage skin types, it's going to be more of an older demographic, because they're more interested in, they're concerned about premature aging, that their skin is aging more rapidly. So you're going to see with, an older demographic, you're going to see more sage types. Olivia skin types, they tend to have more of the oily or acne prone skin. So that, since acne is the most common skin condition in the United States, and it's the 8th most prevalent disease worldwide, that would probably be a more common one as well. But I also see a lot of Heath, Emmett, and it's really interesting that there is a variety, and that's what I was looking for, is patterns from the patients that I was seeing.
Yeah,
and that's why I created those.
And you kind of break down each type, like for Olivia, who tends to be the skin type that has more acne. You talk about how the root cause of that is blood sugar issues, because insulin production and high levels of insulin triggers sebum production and androgen activity. And we've talked about that before on the show, but then you talk about how that particular skin type, like other things you look at, are hormonal balances, because you tend to find androgens like testosterone, like high amounts in women, for example, could trigger acne. You talk about microbiome disturbances, how in many cases the skin microbiome specifically is disrupted, and that's another way you could get acne. And then you talk about inflammation. And so it's kind of interesting, because you can kind of use this as a way to look at your specific skin type, the skin issues that you deal with, and then at least get some clues as you dig in about what you can do, or what kind of disturbances might be causing your skin issues. So it's a cool approach.
Yeah. And I talk about how to kind of identify that, but I also have an online skin quiz, and people can take that by going to theskinquiz.com.
Okay.
So it's super easy, theskinquiz.com. And it's just a few questions, and it helps people determine which of the skin types they are. And it gives some recommendations based upon that. And then in chapter 6 of my book, I talk about how people can customize their 2-week program, because I talk about a 2-week program to do in the book. And they can customize it based upon their skin type. So it's good to identify that when people get the book. So it really helps tailor that. I give them specific recommendations on diet changes, things that supplements that they could consider adding, as well as topicals.
Yeah. Well, if you're really on top of things, you'd have an app for that. That'd be pretty cool if you actually had an app you could take a picture of your face with, and it would tell you your skin type. I have apps like that for plants. Like, I do a lot of foraging, and I have one called Plant Snap, which is more like automated artificial intelligence. And then I have another one called Flower Checker, which actually has a team of live botanists on the other end. And I'll take a picture of a plant and it automatically will send me back, what the plant is, if it's edible or if it's going to kill me, what its medicinal properties are. So you can do the same thing for the face and for skin health. Uh-huh. There you go.
Well, and the skin quiz is really easy. I mean, it's just a few questions. I can help people determine that just based upon their the answers to their questions.
Yeah. So, well, if you do the app, I'll give you my address later for the royalty checks. So, now there's some interesting things you talk about in the book that I want to dig into. One of the first things that I noted, because I'm constantly like underlining with a pen and a highlighter as I go through books, and I've definitely got this page folded over, is you have two of your favorite natural ingredients for calming the skin, for calming inflammation specifically in the skin. You talk about how most chronic skin conditions, from acne to eczema, are triggered by inflammation, but then you have two things that you use to calm down the inflammation. Can you go into what those two ingredients are and why you chose them?
Yeah, absolutely. Arnica and aloe. Aloe is, a lot of people think of that for topical burns and those sorts of things, but it's really healing for the skin. It's not just good for burns, but really our skin gets a lot of wear and tear every day. We get exposed to, the sun and pollution. And then certainly if we have inflammation, it's one of those ingredients that's going to really help soothe and calm the skin. Arnica is another one. A lot of times people think of arnica as, if you've heard of arnica, people think of it as like the homeopathic remedy or the topical that people use for bruising and soreness. But it's actually really great for the skin too. And for example, it's really great for dark under eye circles. That's one of the kind of things that people can put on topically to help with reducing the dark under eye circles, but it's soothing and healing to the skin. And if you think about the fact that our traumas and bruises, just think about the same thing with the skin. Our skin is getting kind of beat up every day. So it's another great ingredient. I love those two ingredients for topicals.
So aloe vera, that's actually something I've used before. I was just telling you about this before the show. Like I actually make a skin serum now, and one of the ingredients in it is aloe vera. And I do a lot of Spartan racing. And one of the things I found with aloe vera and the research on it is that it helps with fibroblast cell building and like removal of scars. Like it helps skin tissue to heal faster when you apply it. So I spray this serum like on all my little wounds. My elbows, for example, right now, because I just got back from filming a reality TV show for Spartan back in Atlanta, and I'm just like covered with scrapes and bruises from, they have this thing called a slip wall. And my brother was like, my 6'6", 250-pound brother was like climbing up and down me with his Spartan racing cleats on. So I'm just like covered in these scars. But aloe vera is really useful for that. And when you're using aloe vera, are you just recommending people go and get like the aloe vera, like just like the green aloe vera bottle that you can find at the grocery store? Or when you say aloe vera, are you talking about like eating it, or how exactly are you recommending to use it?
And it's a really great question, because in my book, I talk a lot about what you can do internally, but also what you can do externally. And I feel a lot of what we can do to help our skin is from the inside out, but what we put topically on our skin is important. If you get the book and when you read it, you probably noticed there are a lot of things that I recommend internally for the skin that you also can use externally. So, but in this instance, I'm particularly talking about using it externally. Mm-hmm. I do have aloe and arnica in my skincare line, and I chose those ingredients for a reason because of their anti-inflammatory and healing properties. But you could also get it. I mean, one of the things I tell people is cut out the toxic ingredients. I share 20 different toxic ingredients to definitely avoid. And I want to give people alternatives instead to look for. So I don't want to just tell you what to take out. I want to tell you what to put in. So when you're looking at skincare products, these are some of the ingredients to look for. You also can go and get an aloe plant and cut it open and squeeze it and get that gel and put it on your skin. Or you can get it in a health food store. What you don't want to do is get the bright green stuff that has maybe teeny little bit of aloe in it, but it's mostly chemicals.
I was hoping you'd say that, because like the ones that you get at the grocery store, if you look at the label, they really are just a chemical cocktail with a little bit of aloe vera in them. So choose wisely. Go for the organic, clean stuff if you're going to use it topically or ingest it. And by the way, one of the guys who we actually hung out with at the Consumer Health Summit that I mentioned earlier, my buddy Sean Stevenson, I did a podcast episode with him about things you can eat that will help to build your body's own natural stem cells, and something he used to actually heal his spine. He did a lot of internal aloe vera. So it actually is kind of a cool thing to have around, for skin topically or for healing your body internally. It's a very, very cool plant. I'm a fan of it. So aloe vera and arnica are your two favorite natural ingredients, but then there's another natural ingredient that you kind of shove under the bus that you don't like very much in terms of like skincare. And that's water. You talk about how water is actually not something that you're a fan of for using quite a bit with the skin. Why is that?
Yeah, so water actually has a neutral pH of 7, and our skin does best, it's healthiest in a mildly acidic state. So in the 4 to 5 pH range is what I'm talking about, mild acidity. And even water with a neutral pH of 7 disrupts that natural barrier that our skin needs in order to be clear and aging gracefully. Because when our skin starts, a lot of products that we use on our skin have a high pH. So when you go bar of soap, when it suds up like that, that's a sign that it has a high pH. People are using a lot of these products on their skin, but they're actually disrupting that natural barrier that our skin needs in order to stay clean and clear and, not wrinkling up too fast.
So when you look at a lot of these natural skincare products that are saying like they're alkalinic or they're going to restore the body's alkalinity, you actually don't want that. You want a slightly more acidic thing that you can put on your skin when you're looking at the pH of a product.
When we're talking about externally and what you're putting externally, topically on the skin, yes, you want it to have a mild acidity. When we're talking, there's so much focus on the diet and we want to not eat acidic foods like sugar, dairy, but these things topically, we want some mild acidity. We don't want them too acidic. So I'm not saying extremely acidic. It's that mild acidity. And a lot of skincare products are not in that ideal pH range. And so when I was doing research on, for like about 5 years ago, when I was working in some of the spas, people kept asking me about natural products that actually worked. And there was some confusion and some concern about that with my patients, as well as dermatologists and estheticians that I talk with, that there's this misbelief that you have to choose between natural or effective. And so I started really digging into the research on this because it didn't make sense to me that natural couldn't be effective because I'm a naturopathic doctor. So I started looking at this. And one of the things that people were missing was this mild acidity, because our skin needs this mild acidity. And when we disrupt that, we're just going to problems with the skin. And it also impacts the skin microbiome. And you probably have talked a lot about the gut microbiome and gut dysbiosis issues. And those do impact the skin microbiome, the microorganisms that live on our skin and protect our skin. There's a delicate balance there. So what we eat plays a role in that, but what we put on our skin also can impact that. And pH is a big part of that.
Okay, got it. Now, when you're talking about when you're talking about acidity, I know one of the things that you mentioned in the book when it comes to something I would consider to be acidic is pineapple. Now, when it comes to pineapple, is the reason that you would use something like that on your skin because it is more acidic, or are there other things going on when it comes to pineapple? Because I mean, we mentioned aloe vera and arnica, but I know you definitely talk a little bit about pineapple as a way to detox the skin. Is that for the acidity, or is there something else in pineapple that you're using pineapple
right? And
for?
I do want to mention that if you go too acidic, you can actually damage the skin too. So you need to, you want to be careful with that pH balance. But the thing about pineapple is, yes, it is somewhat acidic. But the other great thing about pineapple is bromelain. There's an enzyme in pineapple, bromelain, that helps eat away at dead skin cells. And so I actually use pineapple fruit extract in one of my skincare products in my serum because it has this Pac-Man effect on eating the dead skin cells off the surface so that our skin can be smoother and we can have that skin cell turnover that we need to for our skin to have that healthy glow.
Interesting. So I've used bromelain before for everything from it's obviously a component of digestive enzymes. I also did a podcast with these guys who make like an enzyme complex that is very similar to a digestive enzyme, but you actually take it for muscle soreness. It helps to break down fibrinogen internally to assist with muscle soreness. And you'll find bromelain and papain from papaya, I believe, and trypsin and chymotrypsin, some of these other enzymes and things like wobenzymes and other enzymes that people will take for soreness. And what you're saying is you can actually apply things with bromelain in them, such as like a pineapple extract, to the surface of the skin. So instead of just taking it internally, you can apply this stuff externally?
Yes. And as part of formulation, I wouldn't use just pineapple straight by itself because that can it would definitely, especially for sensitive skin like myself, that would burn the skin. But if you make it in a DIY recipe, or if you have it as part of a skincare product, that can be an excellent ingredient.
So basically, it's hydrolyzing the proteins on the surface of the skin and helping remove dead skin cells. So you're essentially like turning over your skin cells more rapidly on the surface of your skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, for something like that, is it more of, can you literally just in a pinch use pineapple? I know this sounds weird, but just smear some pineapple on your body from pineapple that you get from your local tropical food store, or pineapple juice or something like that? Or do you need to go with some kind of a pineapple essential oil or extract?
No, the pineapple itself in a DIY skincare recipe, you can blend it up like you would like a smoothie, or in a food processor, and just use it that way. And you could mix it with yogurt and to make it thicker, some almond flour, chickpea flour. Yeah. And if you wanted to have some more enzymatic properties to it, you could even add papaya in there too.
It's like a marinade for your skin. Actually, upstairs right now, I was hunting in Hawaii. Actually, I was hunting very near some of these pineapple fields down in Kona. And one of the animals that I harvested down there and brought back was sheep. So I've got a lot of mutton, and mutton is a meat that does need to be marinated to make it soft and tender. And so literally upstairs right now, I have mutton in a Ziploc bag with a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of yogurt, some chili peppers, some ginger, some garlic, and some rosemary, marinating, and I'll throw that on the grill tonight and kind of slow grill it. But it's kind of interesting how some of the same things we use to make meat more tender can be used on the skin to turn over dead skin cells and to heal the skin a little bit more quickly. So kind of a cool crossover. Plus, you can always smear it on your skin and then throw it in a Ziploc bag as a marinade, right?
Well, you don't want to leave it on that long. You only want to leave it on for a few minutes,
okay.
5-10 minutes tops.
Good to know. Because I tend to overachieve, and I'd be more likely to just leave it on my skin all night long and wake up with my skin peeling off. Yo, I want to interrupt today's show to tell you about two, count them, of my favorite ingredients. Number one, this is something I use every day, turmeric. It's a natural pain reliever. It's an anti-inflammatory friggin' miracle. It promotes a healthy response to inflammation in your body. Anything you blend it with becomes more absorbable. The list of benefits of turmeric goes on and on. And then ashwagandha is the other one, and that's an adaptogen. And what that means is it helps your body cope with stress, like cortisol, toxins in your environment. And it's made up, ashwagandha is, of different amino acids and vitamins and herbs and plant extracts that modulate your stress response. So there is this company that has taken ashwagandha and turmeric and blended it with lemon and coconut water and matcha green tea, beets, mint, spirulina, moringa, chlorella, just about everything in the kitchen sink. And then they deliver it to you in a convenient little packaged powder with no messiness and no cleanup, because I know you're super lazy and you don't want to like go out in a garden and pick all this stuff yourself, especially ashwagandha. Where the heck do you get that? And you put it in a smoothie or you blend it up. I actually put a packet, don't laugh, in a cup of coffee this morning, and it actually didn't it tasted like coffee with wheatgrass in it. Yeah, that's a new invention of mine. Anyways, I'm going to trademark that. But in the meantime, you can get this stuff over at bengreenfieldfitness.com/Organifi. It's called Organifi Green Juice. bengreenfieldfitness.com/ just like it sounds, Organifi with an I. Organifi, I-F-I. Use discount code BEN, and that will get you 20% off of anything from Organifi. Check it out. This podcast is also brought to you by something brand new in my home. They sent me one of their mattresses. Now, these mattresses, probably my favorite part about it is it stays cool during the night, which is great because your core temperature needs to stay low during the night in order for your nervous system to heal. But it's also got this sleep surface that you sink into it, but not in like a waterbed-y way. It's got like a little bit of bounciness to it. It's got a little bit of sink to it. And best yet, it is extremely, extremely affordable. Meaning that they go around the middleman and they deliver a mattress in this cute little box straight to your house. And it's got supportive memory foam. It's got that breathable cooling surface. And the company that has this, and the company that I love so much, I got a second mattress for my spare room. It's called Casper. Casper, you can get one of these mattresses for 100 nights risk-free by just going to casper.com/Ben. And the promo code that you use at casper.com/Ben is Ben, B-E-N. That saves you $50 off of any purchase from casper.com/Ben. Use discount code Ben. Check it out and have a wonderful, cool, bouncy, or non-bouncy, depending on what kind of sink and bounce you want, night of sleep. It'll just kind of mold around your body. It's perfect. Check it out. Casper.com/Ben. Use discount code Ben. Let's get back to Dr. Trevor Cates. Another interesting one that you talk about that I actually discovered when I was in Finland a couple of years ago. I was on a walk down by the sea, and there was this vendor selling these dark orange berries. And I tried a few, and they were really flavorful. And then later on, one of my friends there in Finland actually served me a cocktail that night. I believe it was a little bit of vodka and a little bit of sea salt and olive oil, and then this dark, dark orange liquid that I later found out was this stuff called sea buckthorn. And then I found it in your book. What is it about sea buckthorn that makes it something that you could use for skincare, and how would you use it?
Yeah, it is a great ingredient topically for skin and actually internally as well. It's rich in omega-3, 6, 9, and 7. So, it gives you a great balance of omegas, which help nourish and hydrate the skin externally. And then it also is a great source of vitamin C. It's a very potent source of vitamin C. So the essential fatty acids and vitamin C are really great externally for the skin, although I also have people that take it internally as a supplement.
Now, you mentioned omega-3 and omega-6, which a lot of people know about, which we mentioned earlier, but you also mentioned omega-7 and omega-9. Why are those important, and why is it that not a lot of people talk about omega-7 and omega-9?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about omega-3s and 6s because those are more of what we get in our diet. But there are other essential fatty acids that we can find in nature that also provide benefits, and similarly to other omegas. But it's nice to have a balance. And when you find them like this in nature, instead of just trying to extract one thing, and it's in its balanced state like that, this is one of the reasons why it stands out as being an even better ingredient for skincare, because it's got the balance of all of those omegas. Okay,
gotcha. So omega-7 would be something, and I think another thing you can get it in is actually like a macadamia nut or macadamia nut oil. So, which I'm a fan of having around as a really, really good source of like a heat stable type of oil you can cook with. But I hadn't really thought too much about finding it in something like a sea buckthorn. But can you get, by the way, can you get like a sea buckthorn oil, or is it only available as like a berry or a juice?
It's sea buckthorn fruit oil.
Okay.
Is the way it comes, and it's another one of those ingredients that I have in my skincare line, because these are ingredients I looked into and wanted to add to my skincare line. So this is one of those ingredients as well. But you can get it as a supplement. Usually they come as capsules.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Sea buckthorn. I'm a fan of it. And if you haven't had a chance to try like sea buckthorn mixed with vodka before with sea salt and olive oil, I'm telling you,
I have not done that.
Good way to spin a few dials, because you get the antioxidants too. So it's that whole detox retox phenomenon. Okay, you also mention in the book bone broth, and everybody, of course, is talking about bone broth and how the collagen and the glycine, blah, 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 is good for your skin. I mean, we've all heard that before. But you also mention something interesting, because we make a lot of bone broth here. I know a lot of people like to make their own bone broth. Some people are buying it now, and from pre-packaged companies, like I know like Kettle and Fire is one that's out there, or I think Pacific is another one that does like a boxed bone broth. But you mentioned how we should actually look for really like tough meat, tough cuts, speaking of mutton, for our bone broth. Why is that?
Yeah, it's going to have more collagen in it. So if you get more of the tougher meats and parts of the bones and the meat, and just throw it all in there, you're going to get more of the collagen. You save those bits for your bone broth, and the tender meat for what you want to chew up and eat and enjoy that differently. So, I think it's a great way for people that eat meat. I think bone broth is a fantastic way to get collagen. And of course, we want to make sure we're choosing clean sources of our bones and meat. But I think it can be great.
Yeah, I think that when you look at a lot of these nasty components that kind of make you, turn up your nose, those are the things that tend to be the highest in this collagen, like bones and hooves and knuckles, and like, the tough pieces, from the skins. And like we'll occasionally put a rooster down here at the Greenfield house, and the meat is not that great, honestly. Like rooster meat is tough, but man, when you make that into a bone broth, and we'll let it sit in the crock pot sometimes for like 72 hours, you actually get not only a little bit more tender meat, but you get really, really good broth, because it's like this tough collagenous type of meat, which when you eat that internally, that kind of returns to the whole premise of your entire book, healing the skin from the inside out. It's great for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Now, you also talk about, you talked about how we should avoid things that are too alkalinic on the skin. You talked about how water isn't the correct pH for the skin. We need to be careful with water. Another one that you talk about that should be avoided, that I actually see as a recipe, or not as a recipe, as an ingredient in a lot of like skincare recipes, it seems, is mineral oil. Why aren't you a fan of mineral oil for the skin?
Well, mineral oil is used in a lot of personal care products, partly because it's cheap and it does go on smooth. But the problem is it comes from petroleum. It's a petroleum byproduct. And I think most people know that petroleum is also used to make gasoline. And there are some concerns with the purity of mineral oil. Now, manufacturers will say that their mineral oil is pure, it's clean. But my concerns are there could still be some contamination of mineral oil. The other thing is, why are we using a petroleum byproduct when we've got all these great plants like sea buckthorn fruit oil, or pomegranate seed oil, argan fruit oil? There's so many other great oils that we can get from nature, even coconut oil, or olive oil, almond oil. There's so many other oils that we can use on the skin and in personal care products without using this mineral oil. And it's coming from a petroleum byproduct. They use it a lot of times because it's cheap and because people feel like it feels good on their skin, but it's not actually improving the quality of people's skin either in the way that these other oils can. It's not going to have the same level of nutrients that are going to improve the quality of the skin.
Yeah, it's one of those things where how's the saying go? If you wouldn't eat it, you shouldn't smear it all over your body. And right. I know it is like a known human, isn't it like classified as a human carcinogen or something like that?
Well, petroleum is. Now, there are contaminants that are in petroleum that are sometimes found in mineral oil, yes, that are carcinogenic. So yes, it is definitely there. It's so crazy what the skincare manufacturing can get away with in the United States. And I don't know if I know you read my book, but I don't know if people are aware that in other countries, like in Europe, there have been over 1,000 ingredients banned in personal care products. But in the United States, the FDA has only banned 11 ingredients. And so they're really leaving it up to consumers to figure out what's safe.
It's because we're America. We're America. we want our guns and our fishing and our hunting licenses and the ability to smear anything on our skin that we want. Now, actually, don't get me wrong. I'm libertarian. I'd rather like educate people and let them decide what they want to smear on their skin versus making certain products illegal. But I also put out this podcast so people can at least get educated on what kind of things they should or should not be smearing on their skin. So, yeah, I actually got a really interesting question. This is a total rabbit hole, but somebody asked me the other day, they're like, well, Ben, if you recommend putting things like coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil, or pineapple or whatever on your skin, do you have to count that as your total number of calories? Like your caloric intake for the day, because you could actually absorb that stuff and wind up burning it as calories. And I'm curious if your response would be any different than mine, Trevor. But what I told them was that once you smear something on your skin, you get to a certain point where an oil hits like a hydrophobic layer, right, before it actually gets to the bloodstream. Like there's a whole bunch of hydrophilic components in your skin, and so it's tough for something to actually, for like an oil to get to the point where it makes its way all the way to your bloodstream and gets absorbed as calories. Is that correct, or are we actually going to gain weight by putting coconut oil on our skin?
No, I don't think you're going to gain weight. I mean, that is an interesting question. That's something I've never been asked. But I don't think the absorption is going to be to the extent where you would want to count that as part of your diet. It's a lot. It's a lot of the smaller toxins, I think, that you need to be a little bit more aware of. That stuff can get absorbed. Yeah, oils don't get absorbed quite the same way as other ingredients. And it really has to do with the other ingredients that are in the products. And I know that manufacturers will say, oh, you don't absorb everything and you only absorb a certain amount and it's still safe. But my concern really is that these are products that we're using every day. And we're exposed to toxins in a number of different ways in our air, water, food, as well as our personal care products. We don't have control over this total load of toxins we're exposed to, but we do have control over what we put on our body. So it's a great place to reduce your overall load of toxins.
I think that you could write another book, though, about like maybe like the skin diet, where somebody goes for a few weeks, just everything that they eat is through their skin: pineapples, avocados, coconut oil. You could see how that would work out for folks.
That on my list.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so some other things that you discuss in the book. One is 5 natural ingredients for your skin that you can get straight from the kitchen, and you've obviously got all sorts of different ingredients or different recipes that you would use these in. But what are your 5 top things that a lot of people might have laying around their kitchen right now that they could take and start to make like their own little like skin healing creams with?
Yeah, absolutely. So one is avocados. Avocados are great. They're rich in vitamins A and E, monounsaturated fat. So great for hydrating the skin. Another one is honey. Honey is a natural humectant, so it helps pull in the hold in the moisture on our skin, and it helps with the pH. So it's a great part of a DIY skincare routine.
You call that a humectant?
Yeah, a humectant.
That's just something that helps to maintain moisture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So that would be like for me during snowboarding season, for example, when I'm getting exposed to a lot of cold temperatures, or when I'm, for example, in a situation where I've got a lot of dry skin from, let's say, like getting in the water a lot, I could literally just use like a raw honey on my face.
You could. Now, it would be if you used it all by itself and nothing else, it's going to be very sticky. So I wouldn't say just use it by itself. I would say use it as an ingredient. You could use it with honey and a few other ingredients I'm going to mention. But it's great as part of a DIY skincare regimen. And or sometimes they have it in skincare products. They'll contain certain types of honey. Some are more therapeutic than others, like like a Manuka honey is going to be particularly therapeutic. Their other thing about honey is that it's got great antimicrobial benefits. So naturally helping with things like acne, that where you've got an imbalance in the skin microbiome, it could help curb that P. acne bacteria overgrowth.
Now, do you have to be careful with something like that that's antimicrobial that you don't kill the good bacteria on your skin?
Not really with honey, because it seems to kill off the harmful bacteria, but it doesn't kill off the beneficial bacteria.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that seems to be the case with oregano. I get that question with oregano a lot, and that's something I put in that's actually how I started making my own skin serum. Was I used to use a lot of wild oregano oil when I'd have, areas where I wanted to knock out a zit, or I used to have this thing where my skin would tan in splotches on my back. It was called tinea versicolor. I had like a fungal infection on my back, and it was super embarrassing for me in the summer. And so what I started to do when I'd take a shower was I'd put a few drops of like wild Mediterranean oregano oil over my shoulders, let it kind of like drip down my back, and then I'd rub that in with a loofah. And over the summer of doing that, all of a sudden I got rid of this like fungus on my back, and I started to tan normally again. And I started wondering, though, is this just like killing all the good bacteria on my body? And so I asked my dad about this, because he's kind of like an expert with some of these oils, and he did some research into it. And it turns out that like oregano oil seems to have this selective action against cell membranes, where it is selectively deleterious to bad bacteria, but allows good bacteria to flourish. And he even made like an oregano oil flavored yogurt to prove that you could cause good bacteria to still flourish in the presence of like an oregano medium and be able to control a lot of the bad bacteria. So it is interesting how nature is smart to a certain extent in that way.
Yeah, and I use oregano a lot internally too to help with gut dysbiosis issues, because of the same kinds of reasons. It attacks the harmful bacteria and creates more of the balance of the good bacteria. It's great
for that kind of stuff. Small intestine bacterial overgrowth and candida and anything like that. Yeah, you just have to be careful that you get stuff that's not super concentrated, or else you'll burn yourself. Stuff is pretty caustic. So you have avocados, you have honey, oats are another one that you talk about.
Yeah, and I do want to mention with honey, I prefer people to use raw honey.
Okay.
Just real quickly, because when it's pasteurized, it kills off a lot of the great benefits of it. Right. So yeah, oats are another one. Oats have great anti-inflammatory and soothing properties for the skin. So they're particularly good for people with irritated skin, eczema, hives, and help healing with those kinds of skin issues.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And then you have yogurt, and then papaya is another one. You actually have a whole recipe for papaya. Do you actually smear papaya all over your face, or what's your recipe for papaya? Can you walk people through it? Because I think it looks kind of like it's kind of funny, because a lot of the pictures in your book look like things that I would make in a smoothie. But you've got like this 3 ingredients. I believe it's like a mask that you make with papaya. Can you go into this one?
Yeah. So some of the ingredients we just talked about. So it's a tablespoon of papaya, just the flesh, and a tablespoon of organic plain yogurt, and 1 teaspoon of ground oats. So what, the thing about papaya, as I mentioned, the enzymes in it, the papain in there is going to help with being great as an exfoliant. The yogurt is very soothing. And also the thing about yogurt too is that it has lactic acid in there. It also has probiotics, which can help with the skin microbiome, the pH of the skin. And then the oatmeal, like I said, is soothing. It also helps kind of hold it all together and makes a great mask. I do recommend that people use this in the evening, because of it. The papain and the papaya can create some photosensitizing, make people more sensitive to the sun if they were to use this and then go right out into the sun. So do it at night as an evening papaya mask. I love that one. I think it's fantastic. And they're all things that people probably already have in their kitchen.
And you literally just like blend all that together. You put all that together in a food processor and then smear it on your face before you go to bed.
Well, yes. And again, you don't leave it on overnight.
Okay.
You just leave it for like 5 to 10 minutes, depending upon the sensitivity of your skin. Here's the other thing about papaya is if it's greener, if the papaya itself is greener, it's going to have more enzymes in there. So if you have more sensitive inflamed skin, it's better to maybe not start with a green papaya to do a riper one. But if you're really looking to exfoliate, then you want to go with a greener one.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. I didn't know that about papayas, but that's good to know too, because if you purchase like the harder, more green papayas from the grocery store and you're eating them for their digestive enzyme or for their recovery enhancing effects, you'd be better served by going with like the slightly harder papaya.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of the things that you do internally, you can do externally. That's a lot of what I talk about in the book. And we want to get back to that rather than using all these expensive and synthetic products that are out there that are actually just full of toxic ingredients that our body doesn't need.
All sorts of tips for the produce aisle. Speaking of the produce aisle, there's another cleanser recipe that I thought was really interesting. Another, I'm always on the lookout for super simple things. And there's one that you talk about in the book. You call it the coconut milk and grape juice cleanser. Can you go into what that is and why somebody would want to use a coconut milk grape juice cleanser on their skin?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is 1 tablespoon of unsweetened coconut milk, 2 teaspoons of red or black grape juice, and a teaspoon of almond oil. And I think a lot of times people think of cleansers as something that that needs to be foaming like a bar of soap. But unfortunately, a lot of those types of cleansers that foam up, they're actually stripping the skin. They're disrupting that natural pH. And so instead, using oil-based cleansers can be a great way to remove, for women, for makeup, and then also for everybody, for debris, and clean the skin without stripping it. And so that's why that's one of my favorite of the cleansers, because it's hydrating while it's cleansing at the same time.
Okay, cool. So a cleanser would be something that would remove dead skin cells and restore pH to the skin and add a little bit of hydration. That'd be like the definition of something like that.
Yeah, and typically when people think of cleansers, they're just thinking about removing stuff, just removing makeup, removing debris, removing sweat. But cleansing can also, I'm taking a step further, like, yes, we want to remove makeup, we want to remove debris and sweat and dirt and all that stuff off the skin, but without stripping the skin. It's actually an opportunity to also nourish the skin at the same time.
Awesome. There's all sorts of other stuff in here, like your skin nourishing coffee substitute, a bunch of stuff you can eat for your skin. You've even got like bison veggie stew, baked apples, all sorts of kind of cool little recipes in here. And then, of course, a lot of these things that you can use as cleansers, like I mentioned, if you have excess, it would appear these would also be great ingredients for a smoothie as well. So I kind of like how everything in the book, if you end up effing up the recipe, you could still probably just eat it and it tastes pretty good. So anyways, though, for those of you listening in, this book is called Clean Skin from Within. I'm going to link to the stuff that Trevor and I talked about if you just go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/clean skin. But Trevor, is there anything else that you want to share with folks while I have you on the show?
Well, I just want to remind people about the skin quiz. I think it's a great place to go to find out what are the root causes behind, if you have a skin issue, or even if you just want to make sure you're doing everything you can for your skin to have that healthy glow, because like I said, your skin's giving you messages about your overall health. So it's good to know what your skin type is, because you might be missing out on an opportunity to optimize your health as well as the appearance of your skin.
Okay, sweet. I'll link to the skin quiz too. If you guys just go to, again, bengreenfieldfitness.com/clean skin. I'll put it all there. Grab this book. It's really, really good. And if anything, chock full of really tasty looking pictures. So Dr. Cates, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great. It's been fun.
All right, folks. So this is Ben Greenfield along with Trevor Cates signing out from bengreenfieldfitness.com. Have a healthy week.
You've been listening to the Ben Greenfield Fitness Podcast. Go to bengreenfieldfitness.com for even more cutting-edge fitness and performance advice.